I will just go ahead and say I will not be supporting the motion. We have heard from many citizens this evening, and I appreciate the passion and opinion on all sides. I do believe this is a matter that we should allow our legislators to make the decisions and to hear the voices of their citizens. To take this on at the local level is premature to me, and not giving our legislators the opportunity to do their job at the state level. So I'm not willing to commit this current body or future councils to stand against our state legislative body before giving them the opportunity to do their due diligence, and I respect each of the council members' opinions and Councilmember Nelson's just now, and giving them the opportunity to do their job in representing citizens down in Richmond. I believe that no action right now is the best action for our city. I have heard from many people throughout this community on all sides of this issue. So while they may not have been represented equally on this tonight docket, there were many citizens who had thoughts and opinions, and I've heard them all. So if there is no further discussion, I am ready to vote on this matter. I am a person, I believe that there are strong opinions. I believe in rights. I believe in the Second Amendment. I also live by a belief that I'm not a fearful person. I don't believe that there is false evidence appearing real to me. And so before then, and until our legislators do their job, I will be voting against this motion. So if there's no further discussion, I will call for the vote. I see Councilmember Helgelson, and there is no opportunity for the crowd to present discussion or argument while council is in deliberation. Thank you. Councilmember Helgelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one other item after we vote on this one. I hope it'll still be, since the new information was just brought about by the city manager and the city attorney, that we can then bring another motion.
Yes, we can bring back another motion. Yes, we can. All right, thank you. If there's no further discussion, please cast your vote. And the motion fails 4-3. Thank you very much. Now I will entertain a motion to bring back consideration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As was stated up here today by several in the majority that said they didn't hear from citizens from the reason why they voted against this. I think having public discourse is healthy. I've heard from someone wiser than I said, unrestrained civil and public discourse is my mistress. So I hope that we can actually have a public hearing, as I asked a moment ago, until I recognized a different rule. So I'll make that motion that we have a public hearing about making Lynchburg become a Second Amendment sanctuary, so we can hear from the citizens that weren't here today. So,
thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The motion has been made and second. Is there any further discussion regarding the motion?
Nothing else to add. Right. I hope you'll support hearing from our citizens.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Pero.
Yes, ma'am. And I think it's an important thing, always an important thing, to hear our citizens' opinions. I mean, we're talking about probably taking a public hearing and having the full council meeting at the city auditorium at EC Glass High School, because I imagine it'd be a significant turnout, as evidenced by the various Board of Supervisors meetings in the area and some of the other city meetings that we've heard about. Obviously, this room wasn't big enough to support the crowd that we had tonight. And I know all of us are thinking, staff and council alike, if we're here at 10:30 now, then that's probably going to not wrap up until the wee hours of the morning there. But you know what? That's what we get paid to do. And just this afternoon, City Council, against some of our opposition, voted to allow themselves a pay increase. So this is the chance to earn the money. You know, let's work.
Any further discussion on the motion? All right, thank you. If there's no further discussion on the motion, please cast your vote. And the motion passes 4-3. So there will be the opportunity for, does everyone cast their vote, right? Yes. So there will be the opportunity for a public hearing on this matter in January. 14th, I believe, is the first. All right. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. If everyone can please quietly leave, we are continuing our meeting. No, why? Okay, go ahead. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sake of time.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to hear from you, so
Okay.
have this card.
Oh, I got you. Thank you. We are continuing our meeting. If everyone would please leave in according with a quiet movement, thank you. Next is consideration of introducing a resolution to amend the fiscal year 2020 general fund budget and appropriate $32,585.
Y'all can have your conversations outside. Please speak orderly and quietly so that they can continue their meeting and get their job done. Thank you.
I'll make a motion for approval.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Just, Madam Mayor, this came forward at City Council, or our Finance Committee meeting today, and the Finance Committee made recommendation for approval. And I bring that forward as a motion.
All right. Thank you. It has been brought forward as a motion with.
From the Finance Committee.
Okay, if we can hold one moment because we're rushing through a motion that I'd like to read completely in its entirety for the viewing audience. Also, I have Vice Mayor Dolan, a council member, who would like to make some statement.
Well, because I didn't mean to vote for a public hearing, and I hit the wrong button. And then when I looked up there,
Oh, all right. So we are
I don't know what we do about that.
So
We need to
hold,
resolve what we have on the table.
hold one moment. We have a motion
Well,
on the
Walter
table.
said I had to do it now, so.
Okay, can I defer to Mr. Irwin for clarification
I
of?
think it's proper to go ahead and dispose of the motion that's on the floor, this item, and then we'll come back to Councilmember Dolan's
Okay,
issue.
all right, thank you. So right now, the motion on the floor is the consideration of a resolution to amend the fiscal year 2020 general fund budget and appropriate the $32,585 with resources from the general fund reserve for contingencies to provide funding to the Electoral Board Registrar's Office for estimated cost associated with the March 3rd, 2020 presidential and Democratic City Council primary. A third quarter budget request may occur due to possible U.S. Senate or U.S. House of Representative primaries in June. This motion has been made and it was brought to Finance Committee this morning. Councilmember Hegelson just said there is no need for a second. Is there any further discussion on this motion that's on the table? If not, please cast your vote. And the motion passes 7-0. Now, thank you. I will defer back to Mr. Irwin for the consideration of Vice Mayor Dolan and what she has mentioned and discussed about the previous vote regarding the scheduled public hearing.
I mean, I think it's appropriate for Councilmember Dolan to, explain.
I was not even looking, and I hit the wrong button. Then when I looked up on the thing, it was yes, and I meant to say no.
Okay. So what do we do? Are you asking that a new motion, are we asking that a new motion be held regarding scheduling a hearing?
City Council's rules of procedure are for the convenience of City Council. And if you have a member of council who said they mistakenly voted, they did not mean, to vote for that item. I have never known City Council to say, well, even though you made a mistake, we're going to try to hold you to that. I think the appropriate would be a motion to, a motion to be made to retake the vote.
All right. And so do I hear a motion to retake the vote on scheduling a hearing for January regarding the Second Amendment sanctuary?
Point of order before
Yes.
Another motion was already on the floor. I recognize that, somebody now may have changed their mind on the vote. The problem is we had a house full of people watching it on television. a house full of people being broadcast up in the room upstairs. After everybody leaves, after they're already told that there's going to be a public hearing on January 14th, after they saw the 4 to 3 green lights to red lights up there, after everybody's out in their car, gone home, now we decide to change the vote. Now that I cannot tolerate and I cannot abide. I do not think that is wise. I don't think it's judicious. I don't think it's, if there was a mistake that happened, what's the harm in having a public hearing as was stated by your own word? So to change a vote after another motion has already been on the floor, a secondary item later, after everybody's cleared out, I just don't think that is good for the citizens. I don't think it's good for respecting people's time and our citizens for being all sitting out here to then change the vote and say we don't want to have a public hearing. I've seen lots of things in my life, but that's not a good one. I don't think that is in order to go forward with that.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Dolan?
Jeff, I think you're painting a picture that's not quite accurate, because I immediately, when I saw it, stood up and went towards Robin. And that's while everybody was leaving, so it was too late.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor regarding the scheduled hearing?
Madam Mayor, I would move the motion as a matter of courtesy that I think we have traditionally, it sounds like, afforded to other council members.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
There is a motion and second. Is there further discussion? Councilmember Wright? Councilmember Wilder? Councilmember Pero?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Had this been any other vote, I would support it. I certainly understand that sometimes we make a mistake, and I'm sure I've done it before in the past. We've reconsidered. We were at capacity, and the public saw the vote. I think it's a bad idea to reconsider. If we do revote this, I hope that we choose to go forward with the public hearing, because I feel like there's a commitment out there. So I'm going to oppose this motion, and I'll continue. So let me make sure I'm very clear on this.
Correct.
This is the motion to reconsider. Is that correct?
This is the motion to reconsider the vote for a scheduled hearing in January. Yes.
Okay. So, all right.
To schedule a hearing in January.
What is?
What this would do is wipe out the motion that passed and then take up the issue again and vote
Okay.
on it again.
So that's a second motion. So this
So
is a
this
motion
is
to
to wipe
reconsider, a
out.
procedural motion to reconsider. We will vote the motion whether or not we reconsider the item. Then there'll be another. Then
Vote.
another motion will be brought forward,
Correct.
probably by either
Correct.
Mr. Eggleston or myself. Okay.
All right. Does everyone understand? Oh, Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a comment. I think Councilmember Helgeson makes a very good point that everybody was here in mass witnessing deliberation and a vote, and then when they leave, we change that. The suggestion is somehow, but I'm not sure what the suggestion to them or impression would be. My concern would be that if they didn't know that the decision had been reversed, then that would be one thing. But there's going to be more than a month between now and whenever that public hearing in January is going to be scheduled. And I have a lot of faith in our media to communicate to the public that it was a mistake and it wasn't anything clandestine or deceptive, and it simply was a mistake. And that can clarify to the public. And the fact that everyone was here doesn't mean that somehow we could be influenced by what they were doing. They were not participating in our discussion. This was not a public hearing, so whether they're here or home and we vote really is somewhat of a moot point as to their involvement in our dialogue. So I think, it's unfortunate that it happened, but I would support a revote.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Please cast your vote. And the motion passes 5-2 in support of a new motion regarding the opportunity to schedule a hearing. Do I have a motion? We are now voting on the motion if I have a motion from council member regarding scheduling a hearing in January.
You want to make the motion this time? Last time it was successful.
Madam Mayor, I move that we have a public hearing at the earliest possible convenience, preferably that second Tuesday in January, to address the Second City Amendment.
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been made in second. Is there any further discussion? Oh, yes, Councilmember Pero.
Just like to ask the people, ask those that support the motion in the past to continue to support it, and for those that are not supporting the motion, just be considerate of the group that was here and the citizens of Lynchburg, and let's go ahead and just have the public hearing.
Councilmember Helgeson.
And I can realize that maybe at the time that you a mistake, and I appreciate courtesy and whatnot. It just, I mean, we had such a nice civil discourse. We had such a good time here today, actually, talking about stuff that's tough to talk about. It was done very above board. There's unity. There's understanding that we got to fight against evil, wherever evil is. And so with that, we also heard that lots of people weren't here that had a different perspective. I've got lots of emails from people that said, don't make it a sanctuary city. Great. So have a public hearing so we can hear from people. You know, I don't think there's ever a time that we go wrong by hearing from our citizens, especially when such a last minute, lots of people just showed up today because they care about this. This is something they're passionate about. And I can appreciate that you maybe have hit the wrong button, but I hope you hit the right button this time by actually saying yes to the citizens and actually consciously say you're going to switch your vote because of the fact that last time maybe you hit the wrong button, but this time, dadgummit, lots of these people that were here. There's hundreds of people that were sitting here and upstairs that left at least with some modicum of hope that said, hey, this council at least wants to hear from us regarding our constitutional rights. Let's have that public hearing. Let's hear from them and support Council Member Pero's motion to have that public hearing on January 14th as stated earlier.
All right, thank you. Councilmember, Vice Mayor Dolan, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Helgeson, the reason I was not wanting to support a public hearing was because, as we saw tonight, those people that were against a sanctuary city did not show up tonight for obvious reasons. They were afraid they're going to be harassed. I got lots of emails about people that wanted to come. We had a number of people that dropped off, and the reason they dropped off is that they heard what happened in other areas. So I thought, if we have a public hearing, they're not going to show up again. So you're just going to hear from the same people. We're going to hear the same we heard tonight. We're not going to hear the other side.
So, I mean, I don't understand how you can make us broad assumptions about certain people acting like they're violent. I mean, we sat here with lots of people tonight that had zero level of violence towards any other person. They were respectful to every one of us. They're respectful to the, I mean, I bet we can go around and maybe find one wrapper of gum out there. I mean, so to make an assumption that these people are bad, oh my goodness, that's even worse. Let's hear from both sides of people. And let's not keep playing into this that they were so afraid that they couldn't show up. I had several people that emailed me. And they emailed me about saying, don't make Lynchburg a sanctuary city. And I emailed them back. I emailed them back my actual thoughts. And they said, oh, you're so mean and divisive. It's like, I'm giving you just facts and opinion. I could have just avoided you. I could have just not responded. I could have ignored you. But I don't think it's rude for us to respond to somebody. But for somebody to say, oh, my goodness, woe is me, I'm a victim, come up and speak. That's what we do. We hear from people. It's all safe and secure. I mean, they'd love to hear from them. And so I hope you will really consider that those people that you say you represent that didn't show up today will be gladly escorted in. We have wonderful sheepdogs in the back that would gladly make sure they're protected. And so let's continue the public hearing like we told everybody a few minutes ago.
Thank you. Councilmember Wilder, followed by Councilmember Wright.
I honestly, I feel if we have another public hearing, I feel like we're not going to get anything different. But I am uncomfortable with persons leaving here thinking we're going to have a public hearing. I really don't feel comfortable by saying, oh, we're not going to have one now. I think that's going to cause, right now our nation is so divided and has so many issues. It's so hard. It's challenging with our nation currently. It is such a divided nation. I feel we need to go ahead and have a public hearing, even though I feel we're going to get some of the same things again, and let persons voice their concerns. I would prefer to wait until the General Assembly presents something. The State Assembly presents something, so we at least have a better way of knowing which direction the state is going in. Right now, we don't have any firm proposals to my knowledge, or I haven't seen anything presented. And we could talk more about that later. But I feel that our citizens should have at least a platform to go ahead and present themselves. Since we kind of left here kind of thinking that, I just don't feel comfortable in going back and saying, oh, we're not going to do it now. I just don't feel comfortable with that. So I'd rather go ahead and have it, and then give those who did not show up, have them opportunity to come as well and voice and mention their concerns. And we can listen to the citizens of our community and go from there. I just don't want to leave here and they're saying we switched to vote, who might not understand what happened. I don't want them to kind of get the wrong impression of what we did.
Councilmember Wright.
Thank you, and I really appreciate the Councilmember Wilder's point, and so I just want to I don't want to speak for you, Vice Mayor, but I feel like we need just to reassert that everybody here is of good intent, and we're not trying to diminish anybody or their voice or their perspective, or cast anybody as a bad person. I think this is one of those issues where people can disagree, and disagreement's okay. That doesn't make you a bad person just because you disagree with somebody else. So I feel like that's really important to say, because I feel like we might be moving into territory that might be demonizing of certain folks or their opinions, and I don't want to go there. I think that we should keep things civil, and recognize that as rational friends we can disagree.
All right. Any further discussion on the motion? Does everyone understand the motion? Any questions or clarifications? All right. Thank you. And the motion passes 4-3. Thank you very much. All right. Next on our agenda.
Wait a minute. Oops. Just kidding.
Is number 30, consideration of introducing a resolution approving the issuance of up to...
I was only trying to bring levity. I'm sorry.
I understand. Thank you very much. And the city manager has her direction. Thank you. Consideration of introducing a resolution approving the issuance of up to $28 million in tax-exempt revenue